With all of us going into quarantine and lockdowns in the middle of March, alongside with that, our sense of normalcy was taken away. I think we all collectively decided to take solace and comfort in many things to keep our sanity and to feed our hunger of boredom. One of the many activities and hobbies that many of us may have picked up during this time was gaming. In my case, and for many others, I bought and picked up a Switch for the first time and started a new adventure on a small island for some fresh endeavors, memories, and especially friendships. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a beloved game by many around the world. New Horizons was a game that came out at the right place and at the right time. For me, New Horizons was the game that ignited my love for gaming and cozy gaming as a whole. For a multitude of people, including myself, ACNH was their first experience with the franchise. I have clocked in an unhealthy amount of hours in the game. Until this day, I still pick up and play it from time to time. However, as the game has been out for 3 years now, there are many fans and I that share the same sentiment that the game overall turned out a little lacking and still has so much potential to even be greater. With the lack of updates and content, it leads to questions like, is this all there is to offer? Can Nintendo do better, or is it fine the way that it is? So let's take the time to reflect on the past 3 years and see if Animal Crossing New Horizons still holds up today. Before we get into a breakdown of New Horizons, it's time for a brief history lesson of Animal Crossing. The whole premise and idea of Animal Crossing came from the man Katsuya Eguchi, who moved to Tokyo to start his new job at Nintendo. Like many people, he began to feel homesick and felt as if he was missing out on many family moments and friends he made back home. And thus, Animal Crossing was born. Eguchi stated in an interview with Edge magazine that Animal Crossing features 3 themes: family, friendship, and community. But the reason I wanted to investigate them was a result of being so lonely when I arrived in Kyoto. When I moved there, I left my family and friends behind. In doing so, I realized that being close to them, being able to spend time with them, talk to them, play with them, was such a great, important thing. I wondered for a long time if there would be a way to recreate that feeling, and that was the impetus behind the original Animal Crossing. On April 14, 2001, Dobutsu no Mori, also known as Animal Crossing, was released on the Nintendo 64. It was then released in North America on September 16, 2002, in Australia on October 17, 2003, and in Europe on September 24, 2004 on the GameCube. Since then, we have had many entries on different Nintendo consoles: Wild World on the DS, City Folk on the Wii, New Leaf on the 3DS, and New Horizons on the Switch. There have also been a variety of spin-offs such as Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Happy Home Designer, Pocket Camp, and recently Happy Home Paradise. With the latest entry, New Horizons was a new peak for the franchise, becoming the second best-selling Nintendo series right behind Mario Kart on the Switch. However, there have been some shortcomings that have been revealed as the game has been out over the years. But before we get into that, let's bring it back to the very beginning when New Horizons was first launched. The anticipation for the latest entry of the franchise was at an all-time high. Many Animal Crossing players have been waiting for about 7 years since the last entry, New Leaf, back in 2013. With this new entry, many dedicated fans and newcomers to the series will be able to reunite or be acquainted with some familiar faces, and to get to the daily grind of getting to know your villagers and creating a new community to fall in love with. There would also be new features such as terraforming that gave you a more creative control on your island than any other entry, as well as island hopping, which brought the infamous villager hunting, which allows you to pick and choose which villagers get to be a long-term resident or gets a boot for a cuter one. Not only were fans waiting for the game to come out, but a new and very beautiful special edition of the Switch was coming out that many were dying to get their hands on. It was only a matter of time for March 20th to arrive.
The urgent message to stay home appears to finally be getting through. In California, the notoriously busy highways are nearly empty. The hustle and bustle of New York is at a standstill. Governors in 4 states have now asked residents not to go out unless absolutely necessary.
With businesses closing down and shelter-in-places were being enforced, the whole world was shut down and only to remain in the confines of our homes with little work and update when our sense of normalcy will return. At the beginning of the panorama, there couldn't have been a better game to come out to help with the anxiety and confusion that came along with the thing that should not be named. Since we're all staying at home and spending a lot more time indoors than we have probably in our whole lives, New Horizons brought a breath of fresh air, a new life to the dull and mundanity our new lives were looking like. Now that everyone and their grandmothers are playing this game, it has led to a huge boom in content surrounding the game. I'm talking about different types of content creators. YouTubers were popping up sharing their experiences playing the game for the first time and showing their islands, doing villager hunts and finding the dreamy or dream villager to have to stay on their island. Not only were these creators popping up on YouTube, but also other social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, showcasing their very elaborate and stunning island builds. Even celebrities were hopping on the craze of New Horizons and making their own islands. Great examples would be Captain Marvel herself sharing her gameplay of New Horizons, or when Gucci decided to collaborate with actual Animal Crossing content creators to make an island for their new makeup line. Or when IKEA decided to make an exact replica of their catalog in New Horizons, and one of the most biggest standouts was when Joe Biden himself had his own island to show his relatability and why we should vote for him as America's next president. Throughout 2020, there were a few quality of life updates to the game to hold off old and new players. These updates, however, would only come seasonally. In the summer of 2020, we got fireworks and a new feature of diving and swimming that allowed us to gather new sea life and crustaceans to put in the museum, and us hanging out with a new friend, Pascal. Not this Pascal, but this one. We also got other holidays in the upcoming seasons. We got the Wedding Day event, May Day, the infamous and notorious Bunny Day, Halloween in the fall, Toy Day for the winter, and Festival in February. In early 2021, we got some new in-game items with collaborations with Mario for Mario Day and Sanrio. With these new items like the green pipe and with new amiibo cards from the Sanrio line, fans had at least a little something to spice up their islands. However, for the most part, 2021 was pretty quiet and radio silent for extra content or any substantial updates for the game, leaving the fans with little to play with and worry that the game had lost its luster. Until when the announcement was made during the September Direct in 2021 that there would be a separate Direct dedicated to all new content coming to the game, fans lost their minds. At the time, there were rumors that the Roost would make a comeback and that there was a leak going around that vegetables were found in the game's code. Yes, we were freaking out about vegetables. You gotta understand, we were grasping for straws here because the game itself was kind of dead at this point. So when it was announced that the Direct was coming in October, many fans had their lists ready for predictions and expectations they wanted in the game. So the day arrived, October 15th, and all hell broke loose. It was made known at the beginning that this would be the last free update for the game, which was unfortunate, but Nintendo seemed like they were holding back from launch and announced a plethora of new items, events, characters, and activities to do in that 20-minute Direct. In this update, we got the Roost. Cap'n is back, taking us to mysterious islands. We also had the return of other characters like Sirius and Reese, Katrina and Tortimer. Also, the leak of veggies being in the game's code was true, and farming was introduced. Alongside with more vegetables to harvest, we can also cook them as well. Gyroids also made a comeback as well, leading to many villagers amassing a huge collection of gyroids in their houses. The sheer amount of content we got was ridiculous and kept fans busy, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. We were also introduced to a new paid DLC to the game called Happy Home Paradise. That was essentially a sequel to the 3DS Happy Home Designer. In this paid DLC, you're an interior designer creating a dream island vacation homes for the villagers on the island. This new DLC not only allowed us to design villager homes, but facilities like a school, clinic, and a restaurant. All new things to add to the content of the game. However, even though many Animal Crossing fans were very happy with the new update and DLC, as time went by, the hype for this new content soon began to lose its luster, and fans began to see that there was still something missing to make this game greater. Even though we got a pretty sizable amount of new content and extra DLC that was practically another game in itself, there was still something missing. Now it's the year 2023 and the hype of New Horizons has gone down considerably, and many players have lost their spark or joy when playing the game. Many even say New Horizons wasn't as fun of an Animal Crossing game compared to others. I feel there are a variety of reasons as to why people have lost interest in the game altogether, or even feel as if the game isn't even the best in the series. One of the major culprits is that many people really burned through the content of the game really quickly. I don't think even Nintendo intended for players to play the game as much as we did, and we have to thank Miss Rona for that. Since people had more time on their hands and spent more time playing than they ever had before, many spent time playing New Horizons at a very expeditious rate. Meaning, many people burned through the content fast without really thinking. Originally, Animal Crossing was a casual game first and foremost. It's a game that you pick up and play whenever, not really a long session type of game. However, that was not the case with New Horizons. Many players, and I am guilty of this, would spend hours at a time on our islands. To make things go faster, time traveling to the next day to speed up a build, or kick out a certain villager was done quite regularly. Blazing through the content or playing even more than the regular basis can lead to burnout, which can definitely be seen in many players. Another reason why this game may have fallen short was the lack of content and updates. For some, many would believe that the 2.0 update was enough, but there is still a lot of quality of life updates and content that could have been added to the game, like bulk buying or more design space, etc. Also, in comparison to the other entries, there were still certain events missing, like Tortimer's Island in New Leaf, or the flea market in Wild World, or even Celeste Observatory in City Folk. Even Pocket Camp, a mobile game, is still getting updates and new content added to it regularly, and the game came out in 2017. Overall, New Horizons is an amazing game, but short of calling it a masterpiece. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great game that has brought us so much that we couldn't even dream of. With the new features of terraforming, the island designs are endless, and the amount of different content creators showing off their creative muscles to share their amazing work they've done on their island has been amazing. Also, the community has grown tremendously since the last entry, and has made this Nintendo franchise even more popular than it has ever been, which is great to see. So maybe next time you have nothing to play, why don't you pick up your Switch, go back to your island, hang out with your villagers, kick it with Timmy and Tommy at the shop, or spend the rest of the day collecting bugs to finish up your museum. I do hope that Nintendo listens to the players and creates an even better game for their next entry. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great game that has potential to be even greater, but is still a great comfort game for many.